It is 6:30, April 14th, 2021. Open the council meeting. Stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Second.
A motion is made and seconded to approve the agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Approve the minutes of the March 24th council meeting.
I move. I so move.
Do I got a second?
I'll second.
A motion made and seconded to approve the minutes of the March 24th meeting. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Approve the minutes of the April 5th special meeting.
One second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the minutes of the April 5th special meeting. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Old business. You're up.
Do you want me to review the things we did, Gary, quickly or not?
Yeah, because that'll keep these guys on what we were talking about.
Okay. Carrie and I, pursuant to the council's direction, met with the school on the 4th Street project. We can talk a little bit more about in an engineer's report, but basically they thought that they were going to get back to us on whether or not they were going to have it done this year. We told them that we had some financing challenges and that we haven't finalized it for sure. We met with Jared Tompert, the superintendent, Carrie and myself for about an hour or so and went over the project. We did tell them that if the project did proceed, it would be, there'd be an assessment to the school, and that would be a sizable assessment. And that's the kind of way we left it. Carrie, what else did I leave out in that discussion?
Basically, that was pretty much it.
Okay.
We told them we were short on, and we didn't know if we wanted to do it this year.
Okay, the second thing, I'll go on.
Did we ask at all about their responsibility for the damage to that road and if they felt they should help financially with that, or?
We did talk generally speaking about the, not so much the 4th Street Road, but the roads around the perimeter of the
3rd Avenue and 4th Avenue.
the perimeter around there. We kind of looked at it briefly, and probably that's going to be a mill or overlay project, we think. We could assess that too if it came down to the point of doing that. So, but we pointed out that we felt that there was some unnecessary wear and tear on the street. They didn't offer any money up to solve the problem, but they're aware that we have some concerns, and I think we should have the discussion if we do a mill overlay project there. That's something that should be discussed before that's done.
As long as 4th Street was there, 4th Street we were going to rebuild before the school come in there, so we can't really say the school did, because it was so bad before the school even started. They did come in and put gravel down and everything to build it up, sturdy it up. And they did that on their own. We did not pay for anything like that.
We also there's a lot of temporary stuff that's up there right now. There's going to be a turnaround basically that's going to come off of 3rd Avenue, so they're going to be doing some paving work in there. My thought is I think that the contractor will let it go one more year and would do the paving all at the same time, but I don't know if they've gotten back to you since then, Kerry, or not.
No, they haven't, but that is one thing to explain. They were going to go to their contractor and see if they could delay it a year. That'll give us a chance to get our finances back. We got just too many irons in the fire this year right now. That's why I don't really pursue the other part of that.
We can discuss the rest when we talk about it. The second thing then, Carrie and I met with the representatives from the depot committee, that being Kathy Holm, Artis Volk, and Carolyn Lodermeyer. We met with them after the last special meeting for about an hour, hour and a half to try and see where it's going. Their concern was they're ready to start doing some fundraising and doing some activities over there, but they would like to have some kind of a commitment from the city of Goodhue that this would be a green space or community space like anything else, and I guess in perpetuity, like a park or something like that. They had concerns. Trayvon also came to the meeting, and he was of the opinion that that the Veterans Memorial should go in that complex, and not in the complex, but in that area. He was going to talk to the person doing the layout for that project, and hope that he could lay out something simple that would make it work, so this could be a multi-use facility, but ground. But they didn't want to they didn't want to make any more effort unless we were kind of willing to make a commitment that it was going to be a public property. We weren't going to sell it. They weren't going to do all this money and raise all this money and then sell it to somebody else. I don't think that was the intent, but they want now. They also had questions about ongoing maintenance, and they had questions about ongoing maintenance of the building and ongoing maintenance of the grounds. And so they felt that if it was a city property and city owned, once they get it up to speed, they'd like to have the city at least do some maintenance on it if they get it up that far. Is that right, Carrie?
Well, they were looking more for the city, just for the grass area, just to level that up. I was going to talk to you to level it up so we can go and people who come in here and trip it.
Yeah, they also think, I guess, that there should be some signage or something up there so the lot is not used as a designated parking area or anything else, because they want to work on it, make it look nice. I mean, I know like a couple times this week I saw, when I've been out here quite a bit, people do park on there. And I'm saying they park to the west, the west of the curb area that's there right now. So they're still they want to keep going on the project, but they'd like to have some kind of a commitment from the city that if they do this, that it's not going to be just sold to somebody else later on. And I told them I didn't think that would happen, especially if there's a memorial on the site that's donated, but that's the decision the council would have to make. Gary, you had anything you want to add to that, I guess?
No, that's basically it. Just that they're looking for city more than a convention, just to level it off and plant, make sure the grass is there. They would like to see that driveway to the west side of it taken out. Make that all green space, especially if the memorial goes in.
That would go. That's why we're going to have a kind of a plan.
Yeah, and I said that we got to bring up here, but we could probably do some work somehow with it. The east side of that, I said, I can't see taking parking away from it. They agreed to it. And I said the farmer's market, I talked to Selene, they're going to have it on the east side of that anyway. And then I said we could cut off Front Street for that Wednesdays, so they can park in that there on the street there, because that is a city street. So, and Selene, she was good with it, when I told her, she had to talk to Carolyn or something. I don't know how that came out. I said I told your daughter that I would back her up on that, so right there, since he was good to hear that. So the farmer's market and everybody I talked to so far wants the farmer's market down there. And being on the east side of that building, you can drive on it and everything else. That part of it shouldn't be an issue. And she can turn around and come in. They can come in there and do that, and then if they like it, they can keep it. Probably.
It's still around the depot, but it's just, it won't be in their way for what they plan on doing.
We keep it on that east side like that. They're their part, the other people their part. So I know that we talked, I don't know what to say. But that's about it for that. Now, you want us to talk about, Elizabeth?
Michelle.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Am I next up?
No, you go ahead.
You were supposed to be up there, you were talk about everything else.
I love it.
Because we were gonna talk
I do have it
about,
up too.
I wanted to let the council know about the taxes from now on for being commercial.
Yeah, absolutely. I have some information on that. So I brought some updated site plans. Does anybody want one? I printed out several. So I have 12 actually. So
Why don't you introduce who we are? So we know.
Okay.
Introduce
you
yourself
go.
first.
Would be good.
here you go. So fun to be in person. It's been so long. There you go.
It says it's updated.
Sure.
What changed?
Yeah. So anybody over here want one? Yeah. All right. Here you go. Awesome. I can just stand right here if that works for everybody. So yeah, Mayor and council members, thank you again for having me here today. So since the last meeting when I presented and gave just a pretty detailed overview of the proposed project, we have tweaked one thing. So last time, if you remember, the project footprint was in the same spot it is here. However, it actually went down a little further south and was on a second parcel of the stairs that was actually under the jurisdiction of Goodhue County. So since that point, we had meetings with Goodhue County. We met further with Dick here in the city of Goodhue. We worked with the stairs, and basically the best solution was to shrink the project slightly, use higher powered modules, and fit the whole thing on this singular parcel. So the project is going to be under the jurisdiction of the city only. It won't have like two separate permits from the county and the city, which just simplifies things a bit and leaves it fully in your court here. So that's the only aspect of the application that has changed. And then I know that we had a few open questions last time. So the first one was the tax question. So I did some more research, worked with the Goodhue County assessor. Basically how the property tax works is the state, so the state statutes for community solar garden basically say that counties can decide whether to classify, or they can choose to classify community solar gardens as a commercial tax classification. Because otherwise they say agricultural, ag homestead tax class. But the counties can choose to increase the taxes to the commercial tax class. And so it's not like basically this project will be taxed commercial, but you will have to tell the county that you want them to change the class to commercial. It's not like an automatic thing, but they'll do it if you ask them. So, and if you do change that, if it is approved, if you do change the tax class to commercial, then typically the rate there is about twice the rate of the agricultural tax class. So for this project footprint, if it's changed to a commercial class, you'll be getting about double the existing, what you've been getting in taxes.
What's the amount now?
So I did some calculations, but I'm not sure if they're correct. So I think that if you want an exact number, it'd probably be good just to check with the county, because they'd be able to give you guys like a calculation of how much more that would increase by. Does that make sense? Any questions?
So it's over double that will make it out of town.
But double of what?
Yeah.
That's,
Well, it's,
I mean,
Good question.
what is it?
Yeah.
Nothing is nothing, so I guess that's like a number.
Right.
Good question.
I used to know it too.
I think that, so I looked at the property tax from 2021, and I'm not an assessor, so no promises on this number. But basically what I calculated was there was about $8,000 or, so they paid about $8,000 in taxes 2021 on this property. About $3,024 went to the city of Goodhue. And so if you divided that by the 36 acres of the parcel, which is all a homestead right now, that was about $82 an acre. So then I just doubled that to get the potential commercial rate. It's gonna be around double that. So that is 164 per acre. So then if the footprint of this project is roughly 7 acres, that's gonna end up being about $1,150 per year in the property tax for this spot. And then add that into the other existing 30 acres that are still a homestead. And it's gonna be around, those would be roughly 2,500. So then the total taxes would be around 3,560 going to the city. So an increase of about $535. And again, I'm not an assessor, but I used tried to put my math skills on and figure out as best I could for you. But working with the assessor's office, they'll be able to give you a more exact estimate, and I'm sure it'll fluctuate a bit year by year. But that's about what you can expect if this is changed to a commercial use. Any questions on that?
So that's based on 7 point what you said?
That was 7 acres.
7 acres, and we were at 8.2?
So, yeah, so the project footprint has shrunk a bit, as I mentioned, for trying to fit it all on the single parcel. So it'll be like 6.5 to 7 acres in size once we do a final construction design. Yes.
We talked at the last meeting, and I talked to your senior people on the phone that day. I can't remember who was on or what with us, but
Yeah.
we were told we could charge you something for this. Remember that?
Yes. Yep. And I do have some information on that. So last time I mentioned a payment in lieu of tax structure, and I actually spoke incorrectly about that. So I'm sorry on that. Basically, what payment in lieu of taxes is intended for is entities that don't get tax payments. So, for example, here the city of Goodhue is the authority having jurisdiction. You guys get the taxes for this property, but in some authorities having jurisdiction, the townships also play a role in approving projects like this, and they don't receive those tax payments through having the project in their township. So they're an example of somebody who could receive a payment in lieu of tax if that was something that they needed or were interested in because the property or the use is on a property in their township. So yeah, and it's basically to suffice for, because they're not receiving the property taxes from the project, that's something that would help basically assist them and support their township if we're building there. So again, my apologies on that confusion last time.
So are you still looking and anticipating that you'd be servicing 225 homes even though you have a reduction in size?
Yep, so it's still the same capacity output, it's still right at 1 megawatt, but we changed out the modules so that they can be higher powered and fit on less acres. And then it'll still be producing 1 megawatt, which produces enough electricity to cover approximately 225 homes.
Is that totally? I
Yeah,
mean, they'll be totally, each house will be totally,
yeah, so it's more of like a metric, if you will, so it produces enough power to cover that much. But it could also be used to power the schools, used to power City Hall, so on and so forth. But if it was, all there was homes, it would cover all of them, yeah.
It's put on the grid.
Yeah, exactly.
So
So,
do you have on average of how much a homeowner would save or a public entity as far as Because they have to go in and they have to apply to be on that grid, from my understanding, reading this document.
Yep,
So just because it could do 225 does not mean that 225 people are gonna sign up for it, correct?
yeah, exactly. So basically how the subscription aspect works is people who are interested in subscribing to the array will sign up with us. It's a pretty simple sign up process. Basically, if you want to do it, you can do it. Households, and then how that saving structure works for households and businesses is everybody saves 1 cent off of Excel's bill credit rate. So basically, if you're a subscriber, we look at your usage, we allocate you to a certain amount of the solar garden, like however many panels. And then Excel gives you bill credits on your Excel bill, which basically reduce it based on how much energy is produced. And then US Solar will invoice you at the same time for a discount of 1 cent per kilowatt hour from that bill credit rate. So you save the difference between the two. It usually ends up being about 10% of your typical electric bill. So for example, I'm a subscriber and my electric bill is usually around $80 a month. And it's an old house, so no judgment if yours is like 20. And then, so I typically save around $8 a month, and then throughout the years, that would be $72 roughly. For schools and businesses, it's gonna be quite a bit more, as I'm sure you can imagine. I think, for like a 200,000 kilowatt hour facility, which is like a smaller sized elementary school-ish, they're usually saving around $2,000 a year, give or take. So, yeah. Any questions on the subscription side of things?
I guess, so you subscribe to it and it's providing you power, but now what about days that it doesn't provide power? That's just naturally picked up by Excel and there's never a chance of not having power or having a shortage of power or anything like that?
Yep, exactly. So if it's a really cloudy day or it's nighttime, obviously it's not producing. But it's just going into Excel's standard grid. So basically we're providing more kilowatt hours to the grid. Other electric sources will also be on the grid, so there's never a chance of the city not having power due to nighttime or a cloudy day. And the subscribers themselves are not like physically connected to the array, so it's not their only power source, so at nighttime or anything, they're still having completely normal.
The best way to do it is saying this. I work with it, so.
Oh, cool.
It goes, instead of like Prairie Island generating, going on the grid. This puts the same thing, so it makes Xcel Energy or Prairie Island have to make less because this is coming on. It's not that they make this electricity and it's going straight to your house. It just goes on the grid and then part of Excel, if it goes to Excel, then it disturbs it. I mean, that could go to Chicago. But it's just that this part here is on the grid and you get credit for doing this. And basically it's all it is. It doesn't say that you're getting electricity from there, it's just that this is going on the grid so you get a discount on it.
Yeah.
Basically is what it is. It's green power.
And it's going to be going into the local distribution infrastructure, so it's not going into like the transmission huge power lines. So my guess and what I know of is that it will probably be used by the city because, I mean, a lot of it probably will be because it's so close and it's right on that grid right there. But like the mayor said, it's essentially just joining into the grid with other uses and providing more electricity to fill gaps in there. Yeah. Any other questions? I can go over the summary from last time a little further as well. Yeah.
Councilmember Buck asked me this, and we've been kind of going back and forth, you and me, on this about, we really don't have a lot of requirements.
Yeah.
And she brought up one point to me just out in the hall there, which I think is valid, about decommissioning.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's a standard in industry, at least in Goodhue County, that the developer is required to post a decommissioning bond or financial assurance that if and when those panels are ready to go out of there, that if you don't take them out of there, there's a financial resource that either the landowner or the city could tap to get those things out of there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Terry, is that kind of what you were talking about to me?
Yeah, because it's on page 14 of this plan here, subsection 2, under the decommissioning. And then I just went to the county and looked just to compare, because like I said, we don't have any solar type of ordinance in town here whatsoever. So, I mean, they have a line of credit equal to 125% of the cost estimate for decommissioning. This is the county, in case the owner and the applicant does not remove the stuff or the solar panels. Now, if you look on this one, it says upon the end of the solar garden life, the component parts may be resold or recycled. Now, I understand that, and then you go on to say that the recycling can prove to be quite profitable for the people owning, say, the stairs, who then maybe want to take on that themselves, and they can recycle. In 25 years, we don't know what the cost of recycling is going to be, and I don't know what's your track record as far as longevity. 25 years, we don't even know if you're going to be here. If that's the life of the panel.
Absolutely.
That would be my, I mean, I just read it and just kind of, those are a couple things that just kind of popped up.
What I would maybe suggest is, would you guys be opposed to following the same decommissioning standards that the county requires if we were to grant you the permit?
I think that would be definitely reasonable, and I can speak a little bit to decommissioning as well. So,
Terry, is that what you're, Terry, is that, that's what, you don't want the city stuck.
We don't want to be stuck.
Yeah.
I mean,
And we don't want the stairs to be stuck or anybody else to be stuck.
No.
But, and it doesn't seem like an unreasonable request. Now, we don't have that in our ordinance, we don't require it, but we do have to approve the project. So that might be something that the council would want to consider, and you would want to maybe say you do to make this go ahead. Is that correct, Terry? Would that make you feel a little bit better?
Well, I would hope it would make the citizens of Goodhue feel a little bit better for watching their money. It's not money.
No, but I mean your concern.
Right,
Yeah.
that's my concern.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I can speak to that too. So essentially, the decommissioning is a big conversation in the state right now, in every county. Essentially, the way decommissioning works is, so after, as I mentioned in our removal process information here, so if the project is non-operational for 12 months, we're basically required to remove everything before it's been non-operational for 12 months. And in our lease with the landowner, we do have a decommissioning clause where we commit to removing everything within 12 months of termination of the project, basically. And so that is in our lease with the landowner, and breaching that would be a breach of the lease. And a few other things to keep in mind as well that I don't think I covered in the first meeting. So our solar panels we use are actually warranted to produce 80% of the day one production in year 30. So in year 25, they're warranted to still be producing around, that's probably like 82-83% of the day one production. And so they're tier 1 panels, they're top industry models. We choose them because of this warranty, because they're expected to produce this much in year 30 still. So basically, another thing to keep in mind is because of that longevity of the panels, we're not going to be recycling them in year 25. If you had something that's still producing 82% of today's capacity in year 25, it doesn't make sense to recycle it because it's still producing a super valuable commodity. So those could be resold. Goodhue residents could come buy them and put them on their house. Like there's a bunch of potential future paths for the solar panels. We could also like backfill the project with some more powerful modules to get it back up to 1 megawatt, so on and so forth. So basically, that just goes to say that in year 25, they're not going to be producing like 0% of today's capacity. They're warranted to produce 80% in year 30. So that's just a little bit about the panels themselves. They also have no hazardous materials whatsoever, so they're made out of basically the same stuff as the cell phones. So they're definitely recyclable down the road whenever they're no longer producing at a valuable amount. And yeah, additionally, we would be agreeable to Goodhue County's decommissioning requirements. We have worked with them extensively in the past, and so that's definitely something we could consider reviewing for this. I believe it does have something in there where we also hold a bond with the landowner. Like the decommissioning is held between the landowner.
$9 bond.
No, there's a couple of them.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, yeah, that's a little bit about that. Any questions on that?
I guess, I go back to a little bit of the recycling, and I am a big recycler. I'm a little bit hesitant with 25 years only. I did some research today too. They said the windmills were going to be recyclable. I found out today that the blades on the wind turbines are not recyclable because they're made of fiberglass. They're burying them in a landfill in Casper, Wyoming. I don't want to see solar panels being not 100% recyclable and looking down the road going, well, they're kind of obsolete. Where are we going to put them?
Right.
You can't even break a solar blade down
Yeah.
because it's so tough because of the wind.
Yeah, and that is a difference I'll point out is,
Right.
those things are 750 feet in the air. Like, they need to be built to withstand hundreds of miles of hours of wind, miles an hour. Whereas these are going to be 6 feet above the ground. Mostly
Well,
just
it doesn't matter
wind.
if it's 6 feet or 100 and whatever, is it still recyclable? I mean, I just have to ask the questions because I'm not
Yeah.
here for me. I'm here representing the city and just want people to hear that we're asking
Yeah.
good questions.
Yeah, for sure.
So that would be my,
Yeah, and
Looking at it.
they are recyclable. They are going to be reused for years and years with that production value.
So Carrie, is the school Excel? So they could benefit. Which
Mhm.
other business in town is Excel?
They all
Everything downtown.
Everything downtown?
Everything, except when you go into Frederickson Properties, where you're at, that is REA. And I'm Excel Energy, but if you go up the street, the next group is all REA.
Okay.
Otherwise, the rest of the town is, and the egg partners and everybody is Excel, all the way up to
Like
Belchester.
90%. Yeah.
Dick,
But there have been other outfits that have already come for the people that have been in the council before. There are other outfits that have already come to town and sold subscription agreements. You're aware of that?
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, we've had at least 2 or maybe 3 outfits that have come to the city council and tried to sell us subscription agreements. Isn't that correct, Lori?
Right,
So-
but they weren't local.
they're
That
here
was
all
the
over like
issue.
Northfield, Fairway.
Yeah, but so there might be some customers in Terry that have already subscribed to a different project.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm not sure if these other companies have come through for the residential side as much either. It's more rare. A lot of companies don't always do the residential side of things, so this could be a new opportunity for some of the residents. They might not have been approached in the past, but who knows, maybe they have.
I got one question, you're not part of Geronimo,
Yeah.
you are?
Oh, sorry, no, I just asked if you heard if I had heard about them. We're not a part of Geronimo.
That's what I meant.
Yeah,
You're
no,
not affiliated.
no, we're not affiliated.
Okay, that's a good sign.
Yeah, I
And
think
what is that?
they're now called,
They were
National
just
Grid
acquired by a
Renewables.
big it was just in the paper, Geronimo does not exist anymore. They were acquired by a solar company, I can't remember the name.
Yeah, National Grid
Yeah.
Renewables, that's their
Yeah.
new,
They're the ones that were trying to put the pressure on us to go in it before.
really, okay.
About twice they actually came down here.
Huh, wow.
But none of them were here, they were all other places, but we have to get in it before we lose out on it and all this and that, you know?
Right.
Don't go threatening us, you know?
Yeah, yeah, another, I have, experience like interacting with them. They also don't own the projects. A lot of developers will develop it, and then once it's built, they'll basically flip it to somebody who's gonna own it for the long term. So US Solar, that is not our business model. We're the long-term owner and operator, so if there are questions down the road, if it is approved, like, I will be your contact person, will be the long-term operator of the project. So
How long has US Solar been in business?
we've been in business since 2014. And the Minnesota, there was some, that was really around the time when the Minnesota community solar legislation was starting to gain some traction. So our specialty is in that community solar program here in Minnesota, and we've been market leader, local partner, owner and operator since the genesis of that program.
So, the location of this is gonna be what, up here on 9, is that right?
It's just east of the home
Oh,
right
up
there.
here,
Yep.
okay.
Here's the other solar garden. right?
That's the other one, and this is where this one's gonna be.
Yep,
Right
it's gonna be
alongside.
And they're gonna be able to track, right?
yep, west to east, or east to west, or there.
And there's no chance that this is gonna cause glare or problems like that for anybody in the city, or?
No glare involved. The panels have been studied for glare with airports, so on and so forth, and there's never any concerns or anything.
And actually, it's more pointed south,
Okay.
you know, so they'll go this way, follow the sun. And then at night, they turn around and shut down.
Yeah. Yep, exactly, and they never really get past like maybe 50 degrees because the sun, like they're never gonna be like straight sideways. So yep, they follow the sun east to west, and then at night they kind of flatten out, and then during a storm, it's kind of cool. They can like make like a turtle shape so that if it's like super windy, it'll just be like a car, and the wind can just go right over them. So it's really cool.
About 6 feet high, you say, up the ground.
Yep, 6 to 8 feet is the normal operating.
Actually, the ones we have at Elvers is out here
Yeah.
are bigger.
Yeah, yeah, and are those a fixed tilt?
Yep, they're the same thing.
Oh, they are trackers.
Yeah, and then they, at night they flatten out, or if it gets too windy, they flatten out and come down also.
Wow, fancy. Yeah. Awesome. Any other questions?
We're gonna try to make a motion tonight, or are we gonna wait for the indication that they're going to follow the county ordinances, or?
Up to you.
Plus, I guess, yeah, whether we wanna see that first, or?
My opinion, I don't have a bad opinion about it, so. I think we could, even if we do pass it tonight, we can still say, this is
With
what
the
we're demanding,
stipulation, yeah,
you know,
Yeah.
and we could do it.
yeah.
Well, that's again putting the cart before the horse.
But we can't do it that way.
We could, but I don't know if that's smart.
Yeah.
I
And another
think it
thing-
would be nice to get an answer from them.
And has there been any kind of, is this the only public hearing or information out to the community? Has there been any other information out to the community that we're doing this, or it could be done, or, I mean, I guess people have maybe heard of it online, you know, but I don't know if we need to do any more, I guess. Inform the community.
We could put a meeting together and let everybody, for a public meeting, could you?
Yeah, we could do something like that.
Just a thought, I don't know what everybody else thinks of that too.
And I'm
but
not
yeah.
sure if letters of notice were sent out for the conditional use application or anything.
No, just to clarify that, this is really not even a conditional use. This is a use that's allowed in the agricultural zone
Right.
as long as it does not interfere with agricultural business. That's, it's a pretty wide open thing, which sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad. So it's really not a conditional use. It's a use it's a use that is allowed as long as it doesn't interfere with agricultural business. That's why there was no public notice, we're not changing the zoning, so that's why it was done the way it was done.
Well, and I just thought it might be
Yeah,
good for the community. You
No,
know,
yeah.
that's what I was thinking, you know, to have a public meeting or to be more aware or to send a notice out, but I don't know what problems anybody would have with it. You know, I guess I can't think of much of anything for myself, but I don't know. That, I guess whatever you
Anybody
know.
called in the last 2 weeks, anybody? They haven't called here, they haven't called me.
I haven't gotten any calls either.
But do they know about it? Or do they have to know about it?
Well, they wouldn't, I mean, I want to be open on everything, don't get me
Right.
wrong. But I don't think we have to, it's not our problem here to advertise it. That's their problem. Your guys, it should be, so if we let this go for 2 weeks, you could get something in the paper and everything, talk to Melissa right there. Get it, I mean, just put something in the paper so then people know about it. Because, like I say, I don't foresee a real big problem with it.
Right.
You've answered all their questions right up front, so.
And in 2 weeks, you could have the county.
Yeah, we could get an answer from the county.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we would be agreeable to that. I just wanna like read them before I agree to it today.
Yeah.
Or I could read it right now and then we could chat more later.
Second cause a big problem at all and hold on for 2 weeks.
I think that would be perfectly fine. Would it work best for me to put something in the newspaper?
Yeah, that's
Or-
what I'm getting.
Okay,
I think
so you-
Melissa's trying to tell us, she already did.
Oh.
She's- Or is that a yes?
No,
Oh,
I'm sure you every week read my updates that I put in about or every time there's a big Q council meeting. But, you know, when you came and spoke, was it a month ago
3 weeks.
at the council?
roughly. Yeah.
So, and there was a pretty complete article about US Solar and the area that you were thinking of putting it in. You know, obviously that's just the newspaper. It's also online, viewable on the newspaper, online website. So I don't know, putting something, if you put it in the shopper, it does go to a wider amount of people who don't subscribe to the newspaper. But the online city council meetings are always viewable without a subscription on the newspaper. I just don't know how many people use that service. So I mean, what you talked about tonight will go into the newspaper for this week. But of course, if you vote and pass, you know, that's what it will be, we'll talk about. But if you didn't get any responses back, I don't know. There was just an actual, it wasn't even in the city council, it was a separate article about the US Solar company. I don't know if that helps make a decision about if you should know or not.
also it's on YouTube. I mean, our meetings are, so a lot of people are watching.
Well, but
Okay.
the area has changed. It is now completely within the city limits. It's not out in the township, correct?
It was always going to be part of the city limits.
I know, but now it's completely in the city
We
limits.
just make a big, different panel, put it in the city limits.
Right. Great.
Yeah, it's pretty much covering the same amount of property on this parcel,
Right.
maybe a little more. But it's not in the Goodhue County's jurisdiction anymore. So really, the people in the city wouldn't have a different experience with this site plan than the other one. So I guess based on that, would it still be helpful to put something in the newspaper for this week? What are you all thinking would be best for the community?
Could you get together with Melissa and collaborate on what's important to be in, maybe?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that works just fine. I'm just wondering if you all think that more people will be reached through an additional outreach.
For the most part, I'm sure the community's aware there's a solar field there already, right next door to it too, you know, and I haven't really heard any bad feedback or anything on that.
I've never heard anything.
No, I
Neither have I.
just don't think anybody has a real problem with it myself.
Yeah, no.
My only question would be, and I'm just gonna really be the bad advocate, is this is in the city property, are in the city limits. Now, Albers is strictly for personal use, agricultural, right? Not commercial.
They
So,
haven't asked to sell anything off for commercial, that's.
right, so are we opening up a can of worms with commercial within the city limits?
We're doing that, steer property down here with egg farmers.
You know,
Say that again?
We're doing that down here with egg farmers, we just took it out of agricultural and put it in commercial.
Kenny Ryan also.
Right.
That's the same thing,
Right.
so we're not opening a can of worms. No, I'm just trying to,
asking.
I'm just trying to help you out here, because, you know, I know you're thinking, you're sometimes the clicking too fast.
Gary, be careful.
Well, it's just that what I'm trying to say is.
Gary, I think you should table it for 2 weeks, and then she can get the financial assurance from her company, and then we can come back in 2 weeks and put an article in the paper, and then sounds like that would,
We'll make a decision in 2 weeks.
yeah, that'd be a consensus, I think.
What date is your today?
Would be 28.
28th of April?
Yeah, 28th of April.
Okay, yep, I'll double check, but that should work. Yeah, and I'll make sure I'm gonna go through that Goodhue County language and get back to you on that. I think that works just fine, and I do understand you do have to be aware of decommissioning, but I also hope that I helped you feel a little better today with like the longevity of the solar panels. And it's not gonna be a garden of trash out there or anything.
No, I appreciate all the answers, I just, you know,
Yeah.
I'm new here, so I'm gonna ask a lot of questions.
Yeah.
No, you're doing a very good job. Just like say, we'll make a decision in 2 weeks.
Wonderful.
If you wanna give us another article in the paper, whatever,
Chapter.
put it on our city webpage too, I don't care.
Sounds good, sounds great. Yeah, I just wanna make sure I'm covering all the requirements. I know sometimes different counties and cities will have different notice boundaries and.
You do that, and then I'll be more sure that you're working for us instead of against us.
Yeah, sounds great.
That's,
Any last minute questions? Anything else?
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you all.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Very much.
Well, Beck, you're out.
As well?
Well, I can if you want me to.
Here, I have an issue though now. If I have your documents up, the people on Zoom can't see them. And they won't be able to talk because we're looking at your documents. So are they going to need to speak when you're going through anything?
Yeah.
Yeah, this.
And they won't be able to see, but we can let them talk. It's just one at a time.
Okay, so how about, first of all, it's good to see everybody in person. Thanks for having us here again. I'm Nicole Miller. Scott.
Hi, I'm Scott Sansky with Weiss Builders, so
And we
general
have,
contractor.
yeah, he's here. Brad Batcher, we have two Brads. Brad Batcher is here with GEC Engineering, and Brad Servin is here with ACI, our architect. So, hey, Brad, you guys have the site plans in front of you. Maybe we can work around this. Okay, so Lori is going to present the documents here. I'll be talking through. Okay, can they see me now or anything?
Yeah, they can see.
Oh. I don't want them to see me. See this study.
Oh, come on.
Okay. All right, so go ahead. You know us. Right there. So we just introduced, I was here joined by Zoom and gave a pretty thorough walkthrough of the building. A couple of minor changes, but again, the development team I introduced last time we're here tonight. I have mentioned this in the past, but we have agreed with the operations management company, so once we get through construction, just wanted to bring this out to the city. We have contracted with Jaber Management, Jaber Senior Management. They have been in business for over 30 years in Iowa, Wisconsin, and now in Minnesota. So the final project scope here, I wanted to run through this again. I have terrible eyes here, but it hasn't changed. So it's still a 40-unit building. We have changed some of the the apartment type slightly since the last time I presented. So still we have the 14 studio unit secure memory care unit. We have 4, so when I say IL, it's that independent plus, assisted living. We have 4 of the studios. These all have kitchenette in each apartment, stovetop oven, microwave, refrigerator, dishwasher, garbage disposal, and the washer and dryer in each unit. So I want to make sure that that's noted. Melissa, I know you take really good notes, so it's a great information to get out to the community. We have the 16, this is where this has changed just a little bit. 16 one-bedroom, and we now have 2 one-bedroom with a den. So a couple of less studios, so the 4 studios, a couple of less one-bedrooms with the dens, and we have 4 of the 2-bathroom units. The common space or community space that we have gotten to is the 2 dining rooms, of course, one for the memory care, one for our assisted living community, conference meeting room, which is also a private dining room, so great for families to use for private birthday parties, holiday gatherings. We have a library and gathering room area right outside the dining room, and we also have a multi-purpose room. So it can be used for chapel, theater, crafts, activities, family gatherings. And of course, we mentioned there still is the room for future expansion and future development. So this is our site plan that we are, I think you guys have all seen these, but we're submitting to the zoning approval. So we have the building itself is here. We still have the room for the future building expansion, like I mentioned, on both sides. This is the change that you will notice is that we're not going to go ahead with the underground parking, like I mentioned last time, but we are going to have a 10-unit parking garage. So we have that placed right here. It'll be, prettied up with greenery and everything. Trash bin right over here, and it's about 80 feet. The Brads, you guys jump in if I'm saying something wrong, but it's about 80 feet from the front door. So, any questions on the site plan? That's really the only change that I wanted to point out.
What about like the snow removal? Where's all the snow gonna go for the parking lot and all of that? Will that go down to our eight partners off the hill there?
We'll contract that.
Oh, you will, okay.
Yeah. Overall first plan, again, I don't know if you want me to walk through all of these, you have it in front of you. But the first floor plan hasn't changed just a lot, except for this piece right here. So not having that underground parking, we've had to bring the mechanical room, employee break room, and the storage units for residents up above ground, obviously, for second and third floor. So we now have an additional studio on the end of the building here, which works out great. This is where our memory care residents will come out to a covered patio, secured walking garden. And we will also have space for assisted living residents to come right out here. You're not seeing a door yet, but out through the dining room, where we'll have a really nice patio and gathering area there.
That's the first floor.
That was the first floor.
So your mechanical will be in the southwest corner.
You jump back to the first floor, sorry.
It's kind of
It's
in the
only
middle
because I have terrible eyes.
area. Yeah, the mechanical room is right here. And then there's an electrical room up here. That's the 2 main. And then there's a few staggered on the floor.
So where was that? I don't see it on here. That's what I'm asking.
Oh, I don't know. We made that change
few
Well, you
weeks
gave
ago.
me an updated one today. This is the updated one, so I don't know.
Oh, it's by the elevator.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. I had to go,
So you're wondering, so
no, I had to throw it up so I could take them off so I could see it.
Sorry, I was doing the same thing before too. Any questions, any other questions on the first floor?
I just want that.
So second floor, really nothing has changed here, other than the unit types that I already walked through. We have, the elevator coming right out here, and this is the 12 units for our assisted living residents. And third floor is an exact duplicate of the second floor. So any questions on the building layout? I know I went through it in a lot more detail for you last time. Okay. Elevations, you see a slight change here. This is that additional studio that we put up to the memory care, so a little bit of an extra roof line. And I wanted to end with the elevation. So front of the building, the vestibule here that you saw that we can really drive through, right at the front of the building, drop off, pick up, and then the back of the building, which is where we'll be seeing the memory care patio and that dining area here.
Is there going to be some kind of emergency safe area, bad weather type thing? Any plans for something like that?
If there is an emergency, then we have shuttles where we take the residents. Yeah, and we would have neighboring. That's required by the state, where we have 3 safe areas. Whether it hasn't been identified yet, so don't ask me the specifics. The management company will, but it could be, is it the school? Is it the Lions building? Is it another senior nursing home? We have that.
So not necessarily in this building, but it would be someplace where they could go and edit.
Yeah, there's a designated safe area here, depending on what the emergency is. If we have to evacuate, we evacuate.
And that's a state requirement.
Absolutely. All the way through to compliance for everything. Tornadoes, lots of energy, everything. Do you want to jump back to the site concept? Do you want to take a peek at stormwater and things like that?
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest issue that needs to be stormwater. Have we decided yet on stormwater and utility hookups and all that? We kind of did it. I forgot to mention that to the council, that Carrie and I had a Zoom meeting with these people about a week or so, Carrie? A week ago?
Or Monday or?
Anyway, as a week or 10 days ago, we had a site plan meeting with these, and we talked a little bit about some of the difficulties. I think that the plan was we were going to run the water, was going to come off. If I don't know, where's Steve? Is Steve here? Maybe ask him to come in.
Here he comes.
I think Steve was going to do a flow test to determine whether or not there's enough pressure off of the water line, like Carl Barch's house coming across number 9. I don't know if it's sufficient or not. If you could,
We haven't gotten it done yet.
you haven't got- okay. Well, the hope is we can take the water line across number 9 and bring it into the site that way. Is that correct, Carrie?
Nope.
The sewer line is gonna have to be tied in on someplace on North Broadway. Apparently, I think we kinda decided that too. Is that right, Carrie? The wild card is there's currently a pipe that comes out of across number 9 and flows into the project area. Apparently it's only an 18-inch pipe, that's what I was told anyway. But that 18-inch pipe drains all the water off of number 9 down into a catch basin and it flows through the site. So we're gonna have to do some artificial, we gotta change that water flow.
Well, I talked to the county,
Okay, Carrie did that.
and I spoke to setting up a meeting with Greg Isaacson about it, because they know it, they said it was bad when they did it. And what they want us to do is give them, I think it's 7 feet of easement in there, and they could build a ditch all the way down past our area, and they would take care of it. And then where your driveways come in, They're like 22-foot driveways, I think is what they said, 20 foot, 32 and 20, I can't remember. But just put a culvert underneath there, and then we can move that ditch to number 9. It's just that number 9's only got 33 feet right away, and when the curve comes down, it cannot possibly put a ditch in there. So if we would give them some land, they would put the ditch in there and clean that out for us.
Okay.
One option that was discussed was underground concrete,
Yeah, they
pipe. They will not do
absolutely
that.
that. They don't want any pipes for their roads for the stormwater. So he said he's open for a ditch. You know, if we do this and they'd do that. And I says, well, I don't really foresee a problem on that, as long as we can get that water out of there.
Yeah.
And then that helps you people out also.
And they're looking to get it past our property, were they gonna?
They were talking about taking it all the way down to Broadway.
Okay. Can we have the engineers back so they can talk? We all know what we're talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Brad.
Hi, Brad. Hi, Brad. Hi, Brad.
That was,
3 Dickies.
that was quite an introduction, you guys. You better do something great.
Hey, Paul, this is Brad.
Yeah. So you guys heard the discussion
Can you guys
here?
hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, Nicole, it's not a back and forth, we have to slow down and let.
I don't know if you can.
Yep, you're now on live, go ahead.
Go ahead. Now am I online?
Yes.
Can you,
Now I can't seem to hear anything, and you guys probably can't hear me.
can you explain?
It's one user at a time, so we can only talk, and then when you're ready to talk, we have to mute ourselves so you can hear us. So you're on live now.
Okay, this is Brad. I'm with General Engineering and doing the site work. And that was the first I heard about the stormwater, but that was a concept that we talked about. So there is an 18-inch pipe that discharges onto the property. We did talk about taking that water down Highway 9 to the east. And if we can keep it in the right of way, that would be great. We just knew that would be difficult to get a ditch or a swale in with the topography the way it is and with the road constraints. I don't think that giving an easement or something there would hurt us from a site plan standpoint. I would think that we'd be able to accomplish what the kind of discussion sounds like from the council. But again, we want to get that water kind of past our property all the way down to the intersection at Broadway. And then there is an existing storm culvert just north on Broadway, just north of the intersection where the water wants to go to anyway. And that's where it goes now, just a slightly different route. So that would be what we would try to do then. And I could work with the county on how what that would look like.
Okay, we're on live.
You got his card?
Sorry?
You got a card for him?
Oh, yeah, and Steve has his information.
I mean, just so when I go into the county, I can give him his information to the county.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'll get you his information. Are you in person with the county? If he wanted him to zoom in, I'm sure he would.
Yeah, I'll have to see what's gonna happen there.
Yeah.
So we think the county's agreeable if we give them a 7-foot easement, that they're gonna
Yeah,
create a
in there
swale?
someplace, because they just can't get it under 33 feet.
Yeah.
So we give them an easement, they said they would make the ditch, because there's enough flow downhill, it's just to put a berm in there more than anything, to bring it down.
Sure.
And they said they would do that. And I said, well, they said, how far? And I said, well, if you're gonna do it, you gotta go all the way to number 9 with it, because you can't just bring it out on the egg partner's property then,
Yeah, I would agree.
And the only issue I had on it, and I talked to Steve about it, is where that gas line, how that sits. But if that's in the right of way where I think it is, it shouldn't be much of a problem at all.
Yeah, it's shown on the drawings, but how accurate that is and what depth it is, I don't know. So is the county willing to provide the culverts then for the driveway as part of their deal?
Probably not, I haven't talked to them about it yet.
I think they should. It's their water.
I'll ask them, I mean, that's all I
Yeah.
can do is ask. If they
Yeah.
say no, we'll have to do it.
Okay.
I mean, they were more than willing for that ditch, but when I brought up about putting a culvert all the way down there, he was absolutely not. He says that he will not have that where it goes from ours into a private deal. Number one, the clean out part of it, the sediment gets in it, who's gonna be responsible for that? And he said he just does not go for that. So, well, how about a ditch? And he said, I'll be more than happy with a ditch. He said, because the way it is now, he said it was never, should have been there. I said, the only reason it was that way is because of that house sitting there. You know, and that's, it comes up over the house where the house was, so they didn't want to get the water in the house, that's why it went behind it. I said, the house isn't there now, I said, we can make a ditch, he said, that's fine.
Dick, we bring up the other item then about the sanitary sewer. Maybe Steve should maybe comment on that, what he thinks on that.
Do we, our garbage disposals absolutely 100% have to be in?
No, but I just said they were. No, I'm just kidding. No,
They're trouble. I mean, it doesn't, I mean, food takes longer to break down like that, in that situation where I can tell, I mean, when school's in session, I know exactly what they had for lunch every day. Where with the age of my plant, I mean, if I have everybody running their food down, I honestly, it's a battle treating what I have the way it is.
so it's a convenience, obviously. Residents will be on meals in the dining room. So every single assisted living resident will be eating in the dining room. So let's say that's, and with our performa, I mean, let's say it's 18, right? Of the 18 of the remaining 26, all memory care is served. So they won't have the disposals, right? They can go right into the trash. Of the remaining, I don't think it would be super heavy use, but if it's an absolute, and if you want to chime in on it too, if it's an absolute no-go, it's something that.
Well, I mean, it's just
some people
another
say
headache
putting in too.
Where it just, I mean, it's not a problem for you guys necessarily, but it can create a problem for me. Where, I mean, food doesn't, I mean, just take longer to break down, and then that's another thing for fats, oils, grease to grab a hold of, and then, and that floats, it doesn't settle out, so I can't process or do anything with it.
I understand. Well, I mean, if it's a problem for you, it's a problem for us. So, could we let me do just some comparisons, check-arounds?
Yeah,
Is that fair enough? And
yep.
It'll either, I'll just chat with you about it, and if I feel like it's something we can do without, we will.
Yeah, I think it'd still be beneficial to have the commercial kitchen to have a disposal from a use standpoint, but again, if it's a huge issue, I guess we'll have to evaluate.
Yeah.
I mean, the rest, yeah, you could probably work around.
The other loose end we have out there, I think, Carrie, is that they wanted, when we went into this project, we've kind of had a precedent that we usually have made, if somebody developed a property like Egg Partners or Ryan's, we've paid for the cost of putting in, not putting in, but making the sewer and water available.
To the lot.
To the lot. And
we have to do that.
but our guy asked, how much are we going to contribute?
We did.
Yeah, we did, and I'm, you know, I did my quick math in the top of my head. We've kind of committed already. It is that down in our other project, it's about $100,000 for the water and sewer for the Ryan project. Then we have some other expenses, and I didn't think we had any more than $50,000 available. And where's that going to come from? We're going to sell this property back to these people, hopefully by May 19th. So that's $200,000 that we have available. I was figuring that the project down there was about $100,000, and there's some other expenses too. So I came up with that. I wouldn't think we had any more than $50,000. That would have to cover the cost of bringing the water and sewer to the lot. The water, if it's just have to bore across County 9, that shouldn't be too terribly bad, but it's going to cost some money. And the sewer, but that's what we got to work. Now it's all up to what the council wants to agree to, but I kind of pushed a cap of $50,000. but you guys will have to decide what you wanna do on that. Is that what we talked about?
We did. You started with 85.
Yeah.
That's where
Yeah.
that's where
I heard that number too.
That's what my head was too.
What was that?
85 is what my head
Yeah.
was too.
The rest of us didn't hear 50.
I did. But anyway, I mean, we just need to get that, when we sign our development agreement, that, you know, we're gonna have, that hasn't been signed yet, but I guess I'd like some direction from the council about how you'd like to handle that issue. That has not been finalized yet, which the council probably needs to talk about that.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, that's all I need to say, you guys, that's your decision.
we have to supply that area with water and sewer. That's a given. We have to do it to the lot line anyway. So how we get it there, we get it there.
Well,
You can't sell a lot without
I
infrastructure.
But I know, but I'm just saying, we don't wanna give nothing against these people here, but you wanna have a number. You don't wanna have it just like with, down at Mr. Ryan's property. I told him we didn't have any more than $100,000 to do that, and that's not, if it goes over that, I guess that's his cost.
I know that.
So I like to have a number so we don't have any disagreements at the end. I don't know, Steve, what do you think it's, what do you think of the cost? I don't know, I just would like to have a number so we don't get down we should have this all negotiated up front.
I know he has some
He has something to say.
You're on live?
Hopefully you guys can hear me. That is good conversation. And my only concern would be, we're not sure where the water main, until we have the water flow tests, I'm not sure anybody, we really know exactly where the water system has to be connected onto. And therefore, I don't think anybody knows what those costs are. I understand the need or the want to have a specific number, but at this point, there's no way to know yet until we have that where the water has to be connected. Hopefully, we can just bore under Highway 9 and we're there. But we may end up having to go down all the way to the east to where the sewer is connected as well, which would obviously be maybe some additional costs. We just won't know that until the flow test gets done, and we can run it through a model to kind of see, because our building will be sprinkled. We've got to go 2 stories plus ground floor, so we got to go up in the air a little bit. And if we don't have enough flow or pressure, we may have to put a pressure booster in the building. Those kinds of things. So not that I want to delay that number discussion, but there could be some additional costs depending on where we have to go to get water derby that would be adequate for them.
Well, my thought still is, we don't wanna give them what if it's 250,000, what if it's 300,000? The city cannot afford to do that. They just can't, I mean, this is how many $1 million project that can, how many?
10.
10, and if it costs them an extra 50,000 or whatever, so be it. That's what I'm concerned about, that you don't want, these people are all good, honest, and fair people, but I think we gotta have a number, otherwise we're gonna get stuck with we're telling these people we're gonna pay a $200,000 bill when we really can't afford to do it. We're all speculating, I get that, but.
Let's get the flow test, get that done, and we can get some preliminary costs and get some estimated costs to get it done. We can do that. Then we can figure out what we need.
So can we can get the flow test just open tomorrow? I know you had other stuff. So we do need that number. I mean, it's a $10 million or so project, but there's not a lot of wiggle room. So, we're getting down to these final things too. We need to know the numbers. We can't be hit with a $250,000 surprise either. So, I agree. We have to get a number here, and I don't think we can do it until we have the information from Steve, right?
Okay. And then we can get some numbers together.
Yeah. Do you agree with that, Brad? Shake your head. Okay. Both Brad Congrats. Do you have other questions, Dick, or things that we should
that's it,
discuss
that's all I
here?
have. Thank you.
So we are, we're submitting this for approval. What are our next steps? Mayor?
Well, I mean, I don't, if you want my opinion, I think the site plan and everything is just fine, unless somebody has an objection. I think the site plan and everything is just fine, and as far as I'm concerned, we can pass it and go on to the county, but we need to get that, two things we gotta get done. You indicated to me you'd buy the land on or before May 19th, and then that we need to agree on what contribution, if any, the city's gonna make towards this water project. We know we're gonna pay something, but we gotta know what we're getting into.
Yeah. But I think we could pass.
Yeah. That's fine.
Plan tonight.
Yep.
I don't have an issue with that. We've been working on it for 2.5 years.
You have, I've been working on it for like 8 months.
I was on it long before that though.
I know you were.
You know what?
Right?
It's been on my mind for a lot of years, but it's.
Yeah, no, I just, something I want to see done. And
Yeah, we're excited to bring it here. We're getting great feedback from the community of interest, so that's exciting too.
I have not heard one thing bad from it from the city at all. I've had a lot of people say it's about time.
Good.
You know, and it's good to see it coming, and like I said, I haven't heard any bad things at all, so.
That's great. So, yeah, people can keep calling Lori.
Done.
Lori will
24.
refer to me.
24 names already?
24 names.
24 names, 19 apartments, so.
Oh my, that's awesome.
That's a good way to start off with.
I did, and she gave me that on the drive down here, and I was like, wow, that grew quickly since that last time.
Yep, and it'll even,
Oh, if they see it go up, the numbers will go up.
Yeah.
They're excited.
So, let's, you want just to put the site plan or everything?
So not the site plan, but not the development agreement until,
The development agreement we can't yet.
yeah.
The site plan we can, then we get it to the county and gets going on.
We can move through that process, yeah.
So can I get a motion?
I move that you approve the site plan.
And a second?
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded to approve the site plan for assisted living. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Dick will I'm ready with the purchase agreement.
Okay.
Get it over.
Okay.
And we'll keep going through.
Yeah, and we'll keep going on this other to figure out what we can do.
Perfect. Look forward to hearing from you.
Yep.
All right,
Thank
thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming up, Scott.
Yeah,
Have a
glad to
good
be
night.
here.
I didn't see you on the meeting the other day. I heard you, but,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to be in person again.
well, I only got part of it, you know, but I was traveling too, you know. and-
Yeah,
You were listening on the phone and.
yeah, it's,
Did
makes
you
it
see
challenging.
did you see the link though? Or
Yep, I
did you-
watched the whole way.
It's handy to have that, so.
Yeah, I did that whole thing again. Thank you very much for sending that to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like I said, we did it on Thursday because I met on Friday with the county.
That's
Did I
right,
get
it
it?
was
I get it
less than
right
a week
away.
ago. That's right.
Yeah, I did it right away and then, so I met with the county on that and I really tried to get that culvert through there,
Yeah.
but he was pretty adamant we weren't doing that, so.
Yeah.
But he's the one that suggested the ditch right away. Cause I was going to, but he said, no, we'll put a ditch in there. And we said we need.
I think that can work for us. Get them to put in our culverts too for the driveway.
I'll try.
They're water. Great,
Yeah.
thanks, everybody.
All right,
Have a
thank
good
you.
night.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
I don't have your blueprint, it's not there.
Well, that's good, that's good. Boy.
Yeah.
It's
It's been
time.
a long road to hoe. Building permit.
Here's his site plan.
How many more units is that? How many more stories?
One more.
Well, one more, but how many areas to store or?
You got it.
I didn't look at
There, that's general layout of the new unit. 13 units.
13 more?
Yep.
Oh, are they all the same size or?
Nope, these will be, they're varying depths. Width-wise, they'll be the same. I'll have, I think, 5 35-foot deep ones, then 4 30s and, let's see.
Steve, I have a question on that.
Yep,
On the south end there, that's where you got the widest part.
yep,
Are you having end storage on there?
no.
You just.
Nope, all these doors will face the west.
Okay, that's what I was asking.
Yep, so yeah, looking at this screen, all the doors will just come out this way.
It's just when I look at it here, I can see these other prints, and that's our one.
Yep, they just that's how they just kind of draw them up. And it's all, this is all general industry, so the setback is on the rear, so that's, minimum is 10 feet, so we're 10, but the way the angle of that lot is, it's 10 on the front corner, 13 on the back. Then everywhere else, I'll be on the property line on the east side for that first section of the building, and then as we shorten up the depths, then we'll move farther away.
The water runoff goes where again, or is it?
The water will come to the middle, and then it'll head to the south, and then it'll follow the ditch down and away.
So on that north side, you're not gonna be in the way of the new turnaround or anything?
Nope, shouldn't be. Last time we talked with MnDOT, they thought they had enough right away already.
Okay, no, I thought, that's the only question I had, so.
Yep. Nope, that's that whole area, all 4 corners. As of right now, MnDOT believes they have enough right away, so they don't have to purchase any more property or do anything with that with any landowners.
Okay.
Side facing 58, right? One side will kind of face that. You're gonna make that look really nice, because kind of an entryway into the city.
Well, there'll be lights on it.
I think you could have a big sign, welcome to Goodhue.
Oh, that's what I wondered.
Nope, I'm waiting for the Lions and JCs to put up the new signs.
Oh, well, talk to them about that.
That's a 4 or 5 year project.
It's already been 3.
So you have to add on to the property, the existing property now, or is there enough land, but that where it's laid out to put this building on, or do you have to build back to there?
There's enough land, it's just more, we're just building
Building
it.
up?
Yep.
Okay.
We're, to try to keep we don't want too much water runoff running between the buildings, so we're building this side up right now.
Sure.
We found some extra fill around, so they're hauling that in now.
Anybody have any problems with it?
No, as long as it doesn't affect that roundabout, because that's coming. You've got plenty of room.
Can I get a motion?
I'll give a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to approve the storage building lot. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Reach.
Good evening, it's nice to see everyone again. Just a few updates today. So Viola Lane, talked to the contractor over the last week or so. He has been submitting a couple of his shop drawings, so like a sanitary manhole structure, and then some of his pipe submittals he gave me today. So we are reviewing those to make sure that it is conforming to city standards. So it sounds like, from what he was mentioning today, he did request some staking for Monday. So that he is planning to be doing some utilities. I drove over there before I stopped in today, and it looks like he's got 3 or 4 scrapers going over there, and they're starting to move a lot of dirt. So seems to be progressing quickly there. An update on Swanson Heights 3rd edition. As you'll remember, last year what we had him do was hold off on paving the final lift of the bituminous. And really the reason for that was to essentially get through one winter, get through one freeze-thaw cycle, and then come back, make sure that there's no, problem areas and that those areas get patched, if there are any issues. So the asphalt plants are not started up yet. So he said that their plant is planning on starting up on May 1st. So they're anticipating, being out here kind of mid-May, so probably next month, middle of next month, to get that last lift done. They do have their final completion date, that is May 29th. So they do need to be 100% complete at that time. Moving on to the sanitary district. So all the communities that are remaining, they all did approve that same motion that we did last time of that resolution of support essentially. So everyone is planning on moving forward, and at our last meeting, I did attach the meeting minutes just for some general awareness of that. So the next step is actually starting into the feasibility study. So that's going to be a joint effort by all the community's engineers, and basically the thought was to have everyone contribute an equal amount for that. And so essentially what folks are thinking is it's probably going to be about $10,000 to get the feasibility study for Goodhue, and then $10,000 for Zumbrota, Mazeppa, Pine Island. So essentially everyone's contributing the same thing, but all of the city engineers are going to be splitting up all the tasks that are associated with that. So it only made sense for like Zumbrota, for example, to, if they're looking at expanding the plant and they know their own plant, they should take that piece. Essentially what we are going to plan on doing is more of the transport and the actual force main routing, some of the preliminary work for just what those alignments could be. So really the purpose of this feasibility study is primarily funding driven. And so what we're talking about on this is really, the biggest driver of this is going to be to get on the state bonding bill. That's really what's going to make this project work. And so there are some connections, and there has been some discussion of, well, do we hire a lobbyist or things like that, but those are some conversations that need to come down the line a little bit further. So we do want to get in front of the state representatives, things of that nature, just because they do bonding bills every couple of years, and we're at a good time to start some of those negotiations, but it is a long process. So just know that it does take some time with that. So also what we were discussing is we would like to have 3 to 4 folks from each community in on these meetings. So I know Steve and I have both been sitting in on all the conversations so far, but we'd love to have either some more city staff or a council member or two join in on some of these discussions, just to be up to speed, know what's going on, and also provide some input. So if there is any interest, I'd certainly love to have you. So with this one, I don't need to have anything approved just yet. I'll come back to the next meeting with a formal outline of what I would be doing and our wastewater folks would actually be doing from the report aspect and that actual design. So just wanted to give an update there and know that things are trending positively on that. And then I did have a couple conversations with a couple of residents. I did speak with a representative of St. Peter's Church. So kind of in conjunction, they were looking to potentially do a mill and overlay of their parking lot. So they had asked, okay, well, can we potentially, roll that into a city project or just add that, they just wanted to discuss who the contractor would be. So I informed them of Monarch Paving, who is going to be doing the subdivision final lift. So I did put them in contact with Monarch, so hopefully they can get some cost savings on that piece too. So the other conversation I did have was with a resident of Broadway. It was in relation to that drainage study we had done, what was that, last year, about the ditch and some of the water coming through that back area. So we had a good discussion and kind of just, he actually works for MnDOT and he knew about the roundabout project. So essentially what I told him I would do is reach out, he was asking if it could really be incorporated into MnDOT's project as maybe an improvement, because with that roundabout, they are going to need to essentially delineate the whole watershed and do an analysis of that watershed as they go through their design in order to properly size the culverts. And so I told them that I would reach out to MnDOT and just have that discussion and just say, hey, is this something that you would consider incorporating into that project, or what would that look like from there? And so I do need to get that call into them, but as soon as I hear back and kind of find out some more information about what they're thinking their actual project limits will be, I think that would be a good update there. So just wanted to make everyone aware that I did receive that concern, and we will be following up there. So the last piece I asked was, and I know 4th Street got brought up earlier, it sounds like there's more discussions going on with the school, so I guess with that I'll plan to hold tight until the next meeting until we hear a little bit back, a little more back from the school. But if there are any questions on anything that was brought up, absolutely, I'm here to help.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve?
What's the next sanitary district
I already told we had to do it.
It'd be the end of April, last Wednesday in April, right? That's our next sanitary district meeting?
Yep, we moved it to the last Wednesday meeting.
Yep. I can't, last the old calendar anyway. 27th? 28th? April? Whatever that Wednesday is.
28th is the last Wednesday of April.
Okay, so you have to be that day at 10.
in the morning?
Yep.
It's all by Zoom though.
Yep.
You're trying to sell that, Lori.
If you're interested, I can certainly send you the link when they send that out. And yeah, you can just sit in and listen for, if you care to.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, I think we should all equally discuss it there. We don't want to take anything away from anybody else here.
I would like to see you would probably sit in on this because.
I would.
Yeah, there's no way I can then.
I can't either.
No, yeah.
Yep, I don't have a job.
This is your job.
This is your job.
You just got a job.
Oh boy. Okay, well, but.
Okay, well, yes, I did email everybody there last Friday. We had some flow issues which turned into some more relay issues, and it's, put it simple, it's the brains of the wastewater plant. It's what does every function we have down there. The panel that's 6 feet tall, 7 feet wide. Patrice did call today and wanted to check it out, so I gave her a brief tour down there, and she saw that panel, and she did understand that's the brains of that whole operation. And we could have kind of tried to utilize some of the equipment we had in there, but he felt that the time frame we're looking for with this potential sanitary district, we might be opening a big can of worms, and it's going to cost us more in the long run. So what we plan for is, if we do this full upgrade, we can utilize this panel for the next phase. If we do create the sanitary district, we change this to a lift station, we can run all of our controls out of this. So it's not just this isn't a 5-year fix, can be something we use long term. Which he said that would, and the way we're going to simplify this new one will be very advantageous for us to do that. Where I did speak to them on Monday, and just since time is of the essence, we're going with I'm going to spend the full $34,282. They came, we went through everything, remeasured, and they are already designing and building it, and he was pretty sure he'd have it complete in 3 to 4 weeks. Just because I've got 2 lift pumps down there, and right now I can only operate 1. So normal, it's fine, but if something would happen to that pump, I might have some issues, or if we have a large rainfall event, then I kinda might not be able to keep up pumping the way I want to, but, as always, we do our best, so.
So the 34,000, that was a quote for the complete package, and the 29 was a different package.
Yep, the 29 would be just a small portion, part of the brain, and then the 34 is.
Spend the 29 and you're gonna spend the other 12, 14 right on the other part of
Doing
it.
the other
Later,
part, so, yeah.
Steve come up and talked to me about it and talked about it. We just gotta do it together because if we go into the sanitary district, we can reuse it.
Well, we don't have much choice.
No, we don't.
We really don't have
And yeah,
much choice.
it's kind of designed a little different too.
Yeah.
The old one didn't really do anything to prevent moisture, and it's a damp environment, where this new one has a built-in fan, which will, and it's basically a dehumidifier. It'll keep air moving, where we shouldn't have as many, where he thinks that's where some of our issues are, is just this moisture.
Can't believe you have moisture there.
Yeah. I'd like to say that tour today, everybody should take that tour. I mean, it's free. That's what brought me down there, because he said it was free. And he explained things and I could understand some of them, what he said. But, I mean, it makes sense to spend the 34,000, right? Yeah. Needs to be done.
Yeah, I just want to make sure you guys all kind of keep you updated.
I'll just make this legal and have a motion to spend 34,000 on this switches for the fuel plant.
We need a motion, you say, for you? All right.
My second.
Yeah, motion made and seconded to spend the 34,000 on the sewer plant. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
When would this go in? As soon as possible?
As soon as they're done with it, they're gonna bring it over, and they figure it'll be, they should be able to pull the old one out, put a new one in a day.
Oh, okay, good. I'll wait for my tour then.
Make sure you take a good shower before you come down there. You won't need one afterwards.
Yeah, you don't serve popcorn during the tour.
Bring your own.
Bring your own. Yeah.
Okay, let's keep moving here.
Yeah.
Building permit for Joe Elder Jack.
Here's his, drawing, so the side of his deck would be up again, or even with this house. So 12 by 14, and then he's 39 feet from the property line.
It's Craig Krantz's house.
Who is that?
Craig Krantz.
And where is that?
This is 9 is right here.
It's down from Ryan's house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is the bike path right behind their house, and then
West of
9's
Ryan's
over
house.
here.
Yep.
So he seemed like he was well within his property lines.
He's got to be 35 feet, so he's 39 as well.
Yeah.
No.
You know, so
We don't need any construction materials.
No,
the
no.
county
Never
takes care,
will.
all we gotta do is approve it.
Yeah, you're really worried about the site plan or it fitting the ordinance, which it does.
Okay. So you just need to make a motion on it?
Yep.
I make a motion to give the permit for the deck.
Second.
Motion made, second, approve the permit for Joe Elder, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Quotes,
They're out here, I got them.
What are these for, the quotes?
this is for gravel and summer work, asphalt, everything, something else.
Did you say in case we have to do something?
This one, I'll pass one around.
Is this the only quote we got?
That was last year's.
Oh, I see, okay.
And then I end up with
Oh,
none.
you got one.
Always.
Good
We had an extra one this year.
Yeah. Well, this next one, I have, we all have one.
Oh, yeah. Last
Yeah, I didn't put it up on the screen, I didn't see it.
And this is, this was 4/11/18 submitted for 2020.
So Augie's is basically only quoting partial what's needed compared to what Comfort is quoting? Yeah.
Where's, well, I didn't get one for all.
It's on the other
It's on the other
side.
side, yeah.
Turn the page over.
Yeah.
It looks, Nori gives pretty much price for every piece of equipment, where I think Augie's just kind of starting to get into some of this stuff, so this
Yeah.
is kind of what he has, where I mean, Nori does not actually even have a price for, I mean, well, I guess he does have a price for rock, not delivered, where usually, I can talk to Augie's too, I mean, usually it's, I mean, their price is per ton delivered, I mean, so it'd be $10.50 a ton delivered is usually what they do, but I can verify with them on that anyways, and we don't, I'm probably not gonna need that much rock this year, I'm gonna add some down on Broadway, down by Ag Partners, and I'll probably have some stockpiled here, but I might put a little bit in the alley, but we don't really use a ton of rock. And then even grading work, we'll probably grade it once we get rock, and then I'll probably spray chloride on it down there for Ag Partners, and we should be really good. Most of the equipment we use would be the backhoe for water main breaks, leaks, stuff like that.
So is Augie's more for rock? There's no snow on it?
No, we get,
No, snow's different.
we'll get them in October.
Oh, okay, so he just,
This is just
Comfort just-
summertime.
okay.
And all it is quotes, so we don't have to go from one to the other, we just accept the quotes. All we have to do.
And then we use them until a year from now. So it'll be, we'll do call for quotes the first meeting of April next year.
And then in October, we go for the snow plowing.
Oh, I see, okay. So you just ignore what you did for snow plowing.
So what I'm asking for is just a motion to accept the quotes.
We're gonna set both or just one?
We can accept both, yes, accept both quotes.
And then use both people?
We use Steve,
At the
and
meeting.
Steve's discretion of who's going to
Oh, I was gonna say Comfort's a little cheaper on some things, but.
Yeah, usually I start with Nori on most of the digging, if he can't get here, then I go down the list.
use. So, yeah, it's not a bid, it's not a bid, it's a quote.
It's a quote, okay.
Make a motion that we accept the quotes of Comfort and Augie.
Second? Motion made, second, accept both quotes, one from Comfort, one from Augie's Trucking, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Vote for, oh, this is Lori.
Yeah. Ugh. Talk about it.
Well, we gotta talk about it because if we do get audited, I mean, we're grandfathered in, but if we get audited, and Lori is just as soon as see this out there, it makes her record easy, it makes her life a lot easier.
Well, I sent out, so Standard & Poor's, that was our first, I emailed that to you all. I don't know if you got a chance to read that. That came today. And he talked about, you know, right now we're grandfathered in with Standard & Poor's, but if anything were to change in our finances, it would count against us, and then they will require that we have a professional audit done. Right now, the state auditor does our audit, so probably not as thorough, you know, as an actual financial auditor.
We gotta get it out of there, I mean, like the depot monies that could come into the cities because that's used for a city building. This, they
And
don't
the
want,
Lions.
and the Lions building's the same way, but when you're having a boat fest or a festival for the city, is not benefiting the city's property. So that's why they want it out.
And here's the League of Minnesota Cities response to running money through. And I've been fundraising. I've been actually calling people and asking them for money. So I can't do that, according to the league.
Well, that's too bad.
I know.
Gosh, relieve you a little bit. Wow. That's great.
So what would be the process to move this out of the city?
Well, the league recommended that somebody form a 501c3. So that would be, I mean, the JCs I think already are one, or the Lions, I mean, it would be, or someone start one on their own. I don't know who the someone is. And maybe talking about this tonight will get someone to come forward and say we'd like to organize and do that.
As far as maybe one specific 501c holder for all that money?
Well, the JCs would probably still handle their own, because they've got a lot of money going through, they're, you know, bigger. We're talking 25 to 30,000 a year that goes through our budget for Folks Fest. So that would be like Miss Goodhue, the parade, the bounce party, the craft show, you know, all those things. And I don't think the JCs really want to deal with having to write all those checks. I don't know, I mean, here's like, how many, we're talking, it's 4 pages worth, you know, you know, and they're not gonna wanna sit and write, you know, it's 27,000 in 19, so I don't know. But I guess, I mean, that's not really the city's or your problem to figure that out, but it's your problem. Do you wanna continue having the money run through?
Well, so, Carrie, we said we can't, right?
Yeah.
Right, so we have to come up with a solution. Is the Lions, are they a 501c?
Yes, because they donate money, we can't accept money for.
Right, but they write out their own checks and money, so.
But don't we have to have somebody come forward and volunteer basically to do this then? Or we can't just appoint them, can we?
No.
No.
You'd really want, like a 501c3 that you'd want bonded. Just in case they decide they're going on a trip with that money.
Oh, jeez.
Well, you never know.
Yeah,
You gotta look at that.
Yeah.
That's why an organization like, you know, the JCs, but I don't know if they'd wanna do it. The Lions could do it, but you'd have to talk to, and I don't know if they'd do it either, because they don't wanna screw the gambling up, I know that.
Right.
And, I don't know, fire department wouldn't do it?
No, I don't, because then that would all have to go through, probably the Relief Association is where it would have to go through them, right? That would be the only way, yeah, and, I mean, I could ask one of the guys that's on their leave if it would be, but
Well, I mean, it doesn't have to be tonight, just
No,
you go back and ask.
right,
them, see
yep,
what-
absolutely, yep. Well, I'll bring it up and ask how we can go about it, if we wanted to do it through there, but.
Well, I was gonna point out, we did have, just some hosting the website, and I just paid for that this week, but, so we have $12,000 in the Volksfest account. So, I mean, I don't know what you would want to do with that, if you would want that to go to this new nonprofit, and we would just.
Actually, if we get a new one and willing to do it, I think the money should go there, so we ain't starting from scratch again,
Right.
you know.
I can't think of anybody else offhand that we could even go to, or, you know, the JCs and the Lions don't want to do it.
Unless you get some guys that, wanna form 501c3 as a boat fest committee.
Yeah.
You know, that would work also,
You know,
then they'd
Well,
have to.
separate, so it would be Volksfest, not JC's.
Yeah.
Okay.
That'd be the best way of doing it.
Yeah.
But that's something you guys should think about. We have to get it out of there. Pet waste station update.
We've got them, the lines, I've spoken with them a few times, and they're hoping in May to
Installed?
install them, yep.
And that's the ones that were donated by the Lions, or?
Yep. So, yep, they're gonna pretty much, they want us to tell them where to put them, and then they will spend their few hours or whatever and put them up.
And then the city will just maintain them then and not pay that fee each year?
Correct.
Well, that's
Put a whole lot of
better, you know?
Okay.
Huh.
Mayor's concerns. You see this one, wasn't there a number I told you about?
I only remember that one.
Okay. And that's explaining how the assessments work. And I did a little tonight, but Dick, I think we should schedule a meeting where we can sit down and just talk about that.
Okay. Yeah, let's do that before the next council meeting, that.
Yeah, because everybody here wants to sit in on
Okay.
it and get more onto it.
Okay. So why don't I'll prepare some written information, and then we can talk about it. You wanna do it at a separate meeting sometime, or what do you want?
Well, you just start at, do you think a half an hour would cover it?
Oh, yeah, I
Because you
think,
could just start on the.
yeah, why don't we start the meeting
28th
about a
at
half hour?
6.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can
Okay.
we can do that.
And I'll explain what our policy has been, doesn't have to mean that, that's what the policy is in the future, but, and then maybe we can discuss what some other communities do and go from there.
Yeah, and I did a little tonight to give them a little bit of knowledge on how
Okay.
we do it,
Okay,
you know, so, but they wanna know more about it.
okay. I'd like the engineer here, though, that if you could be here a half hour early too, because he works with the assessments too.
Yeah, if you would, Reese.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. And I just been, the other stuff we've been doing is just trying to put out fires here and there. I've been working with the system, I've been working with Ryan's out there. And we met with the school for the street and that. Really, the thing about it is, and I'll bring it up right now, is Dick and I think we should maybe wait a year to where we can get this financing out of here so we can all go towards another one. So I mean, if you wanna work on that tonight, we can, just stay postpone it for a year, that's all you have to do.
Well, the water and the sewer and everything is fine there on the street. You could condition it enough so it's workable, feasible, or if that was the case, I mean, there's no reason that we have to. The school's fine with it.
Well, the school's gotta do it, but they're talking to their contractors to see if they can hold off for a year, or if they do, they might get paid back, or we could put it in with us and they'd pay it.
Yeah.
Right, Dick?
Yeah, they have a substantial completion date, I think, by July 31st on their project, Jason. So if they go, and this does happen, if they go beyond that, they'd have to agree to it, or the more likely scenario was they just deduct it off their project cost, they just wouldn't do that. So he was gonna try and negotiate with the general contractor and see what they had to say.
Because they're willing if we waited a year, but he just has to see how his contract.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we thought we could just postpone it for a year where we can get ourselves back in a little more financial stable. Because we're gonna have to assess it, that's a given, but it's just that we need to get more money to put towards it for us. You know, so my feelings on it is to postpone it for a year.
So what if they have to go through with it for some reason?
Then they do their side, and then we'll have to work into it, but I can't see where they would, because the blacktop and that would be cutting up and redoing it again.
Yeah.
You know, that's why it's better if we come in together with it. But if we could, if we all possible, I'd just sort of see it next year. So what I would put in this, the motion is on the condition that the school can get out of the contract.
Well, they did, right? It wasn't that big a deal.
Evan was real good, talking with us and everything. We had one of the school board members there, so talking with us also. I said we had a good, all-along meeting, and they're gonna take it to the school, so.
And maybe give some of the people along the street on the other side a little more time to financially plan for it too. You know, it's gonna be a lot.
We need to make a motion that we put off the Fourth Street Lake, repair or
And then I was thinking next year, if we do this, we might go bigger, or we can do Broadway. You know, and then that would reduce that cost too.
on the condition that the school can get out of
Yeah.
their agreement, or is that what it is? Okay, make that motion.
But you just said,
If the school can get out of it.
On the condition.
On the condition the school gets out of it.
and so, but you kind of thought that maybe if we went ahead with, if they couldn't get out of it,
Then we'd have to figure out get bonded.
okay, then it has to go.
But he's pretty sure he can do something.
Okay.
I mean, we could table it tonight too. I don't
So we
need
can
a
have-
motion.
do that?
Yeah,
We could
You
table
want
it.
to table it
until-
instead?
until we hear back from them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll withdraw my
I know
motion.
for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Make a motion that we table it. Do we need a motion to table it?
No.
No, okay.
Then any council concerns?
Has anybody gone up and driven by like Deidre O'Reilly's during the day? I do feel for them, that whole side is full of cars, both sides on that
Well, we
Fourth
brought
Street.
that up too.
Did you? And every day that I've gone by, the mailboxes are blocked. They leave this much, there's no way they can get a truck in
We
there.
were gonna put no parking on the east side of that street.
Okay.
Yeah.
We did talk, we, if I can, Carrie, we did discuss that, Terry, about general parking in the area. That there's some concern raised about that. There's concern raised about what they're gonna do at the Catholic Church. That brought up too, I brought that up too. We also brought up the parking, I don't know how many stalls they're gonna have, but, you know, between Jack Rosner's and the 4-0 place there.
The greenhouse.
The greenhouse, yeah. That's gonna be parking, and they think they have enough spots. Carrie Alton said you cannot park on that side of the street anymore, once this is, I don't know, maybe you wanna do it now, I don't.
I think we gotta do it now.
Okay, well then somebody should make a motion and put some signs up and get it done, I think.
Has the other parking lot gotten cleaned out a little bit from the construction workers? I mean, that was almost full, the whole parking lot.
It's getting now.
It's
Now,
getting
okay.
there.
Yeah.
But they don't park there because it's kind of far away.
You ever see a teacher that wasn't, well, excuse me.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
I'll make a motion that we put no parking signs on the east side of 4th Street, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, I said it.
Motion made and seconded to add no parking signs on the east side of 4th Street. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? You got him, Steve, or?
I should have enough.
Okay, then we'll get it done as soon as we possibly can.
I have just one more thing. On the signs going up the street, Steve, like by the townhouses, is it difficult to straighten up those street signs? Is it?
Not, I did one, but unless someone, I mean.
Yeah, there's another one that kind of tilted a little bit.
Yeah,
so-
we'll check it out.
Okay, thanks.
I wanted to know, whatever happened to our garage issue? Oh,
They withdrew.
oh, they withdrew? Okay, and then, I was kinda joking with Steve about the front of the building on 58, but we have discussed that before about how that appears along there for the city. And I don't know if we need to kinda make that something we talk to people about when they're building, or especially along the highway there, as far as the appearance of, and, you know, what they can do maybe to make it look, you know, nice for the city. Even egg partners in the bins, you see bins that are decorated and, you know, some kind of big plant or something on it, or,
Oh, Melissa has a question.
so, I just thought I'd bring that up and say, maybe that's something we need to talk to people about. Okay.
Melissa?
Oh, hang on.
Oh, she wants to
For that motion that you passed, I heard no parking signs on east side of 4th Street. Is that always?
From between 3rd and 4th.
Between, say, 3rd and 4th?
Between 3rd Avenue and 4th Avenue on 4th Street, no parking on the east side.
all the time.
Okay, between
All the
3rd
time.
Avenue
All the time.
and 4th.
Can you say
Okay,
that
day
again?
and night.
Yes.
Yep. 24/7, 365.
No parking anytime now.
Yeah. That'll bring the problem going under the gyms on the other side, but that's okay. They'll leave it open. We got other places.
Yeah, well, yeah.
We got all-
So, any other council concerns? Can I get a motion to pay the bills?
I move to pay bills.
Yeah.
Motion made, second, pay our bills, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. I got a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion made, second, adjourn, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are now adjourned.
Bye, Melissa.
Maybe, can we start at 4 next time?
I don't even know my board.
Well, one of these is just gonna be a regular, just a meeting.
Yeah, I know.
If
There's
we-
so much other stuff to do.
No, I think we decided last time. You and I get to start drinking at 4:01, right?
Yeah, but it,
Are we signed off now?
I don't know when that's gonna
Aye.
There. Do we all know?
What did I do?
Okay.
Gary, run.
See you later.
Yeah, good night, everybody. Yeah, wait till I get my hip done.
That was our first live meeting, you guys. I guess it's gonna be all over the internet tomorrow.
We're still live.
Oh, boy.
Well, I didn't say anything bad. I said, "Oh, we're in."